Hi guys, good morning and welcome to my podcast. My name is Mandy and you can find me on the internet as Mandy Von Knits on Instagram, Ravelry, and now I'm on Goodreads. This is a knitting podcast. Well, knitting and crochet. I actually have crochet finished objects to show you today and I am very much geeking out about them and I'll show you them when I get to them, but it feels so good to have these objects finished and I love the way they came out. So, spoiler alert. Okay, anyways, let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Mandy and I have been knitting for 8-9 years and crocheting for about 13-14-ish. I love to make garments. I love to take sweaters or cardigans and just turn them into what I want. I am in a wheelchair full time. I am incompletely paralyzed from the waist down, and I love to make sweaters or garments more accessible to how I need them to fit. So I need pockets. I don't especially care for buttons. Depending on how I want to wear the garment, I need to adjust the length. Sometimes it's very bad for, say, wheelchair transfers to kind of move in and out of my wheelchair. It's bad to have too much garment covering my bottom end. That's probably too much information, but that's real talk. And I just love to share that crafting journey with you guys. It makes me really happy to have a space to talk to, and I love the crafting community. So anyways, with all of that said, if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, please stick around. I would love to have you. Okay, so let's get to admin first, right? Because on this podcast, every podcast I give away a pattern, and the pattern prize has to be under $15 and you can only win once a month just because I want to make it fair for everybody. It's not fair if the same person keeps winning. I mean, you know, you guys understand. So every week, the way that you enter is you just leave a comment down below, and the next week I go to a YouTube random comment picker and I put my video link in, press a button, and it spits out a winner. It's magic. I love technology. So if you would like to enter for this week's giveaway, just leave a comment down below. And for everybody who commented on last week's video, I'm going to leave a blank spot right here. And if that was you, please reach out to me on either Ravelry or Instagram and let me know what pattern that you want. Generally, I gift the pattern through Ravelry. If Ravelry is not accessible to you, please reach out, let me know, and we can work through a solution. It hasn't come up yet, but I'm confident with today's technology, there's a way. So we'll do it. We'll get through it. Okay. So what's next? I'm going to talk about what I'm wearing because I love this sweater. This is one of my tried and true patterns. And if you guys watched, I believe last week I showed you my son's finished flax. Well, this is my flax. This is my flax sock sweater, and this is by Tin Can Knits. The yarn that I used for this is by Blackbird Sycamore Yarn, and it is Black Fire Opal. So when I saw this yarn come out, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to have it because it's black and it's got all these pretty colors. It's rainbow. I made it for Pride Month last June. I'm all confused. So I really love it and it makes me super happy, and this pattern is so super accessible to everybody. It comes in sizes from newborn up to, I believe, 5 or 6 XL. So there's a huge size range and it's free. So if you haven't tried it, I would definitely try it. But that's what I'm wearing today, and that's where the yarn came from. So I just wanted to get that out of the way before we started talking about my finished objects because, like I said, I'm super excited about them. Okay, Do you guys remember last week when I was talking about my Christmas cat gnomes? And we have some neighbors that live across the street from us, and they're huge cat lovers, just like we are. And they've been so kind to us and so kind to my family that I wanted to do something special for them. So I saw this pattern and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. They're adorable. So a couple of videos ago, I made kind of a test run of the crochet amigurumi for my daughter. She promptly claimed it. She loves it to pieces. And then I'm like, okay, I've learned from this. Now I'm going to make the items for the neighbors across the street. So let me start with the one that I made my daughter. The same one that I made my daughter. So the gnome with the ruffly hat. So here it is. And as you can tell, I love it. It's adorable. Look at the sparkly beads. And when I showed the sparkly beads to my daughter, when I showed her this finished object, she's like, oh, I want them on mine too. So of course I'm going to end up putting the sparkly beads on hers. I also, because I got a package of these beads, I gave her I gave her the bag, so she's going to be making bracelets for the holiday out of them. And I think that that's a good, use case for the rest of those beads because they're going to make some really nice bracelets. Look at how sparkly. But I'm really happy with this. Now, last time I had just crocheted basically like a circle and put the beads right in. The stuffing beads, the polyfill weighted beads that you put in amigurumi to kind of give them heft. So I put them in. I didn't put them in a case or anything, and I learned very quickly that I shouldn't have done that. So for this one, I took these small organza bags that I had, and I stuffed those with the poly beads, and then I put them in the circle gnome, and it worked way better. So I'm glad I learned that, and I'm glad I made this test run of the pattern just so that I could kind of figure out my process and kind of fine tune it as I went. So another thing that I did was I noticed that my daughter's gnome was kind of short, and I'm pretty sure this has to do with how I crochet. So my crochet stitches are, say your normal crochet stitch is this tall, mine are kind of shorter, and they always have been. And that has given me grief, especially when I'm making crochet garments, really badly then. So I've learned that when I'm making amigurumi, I really need to kind of add some height. So I added some rounds. When you're building the circle of the cat gnome, I added it just to give it a little bit of height. Do you know how when it says crochet the same amount of stitches over and over, and it kind of just, instead of increasing or decreasing the circle, it just goes straight up? That would be where I added those rounds. So I was very happy with it. And another thing that I did was I waited until the very end after I had done all of the hat and all of the everything to sew everything together. And I think that that made the ears come out a lot better. With my daughters, they're kind of malplaced. I mean, it's fine. She loves it anyways, but I think that this came out better, just that approach. So I'm glad I walked through it, and I'm glad I learned what I learned. But I'm very happy with it and how it came out. So that was the first gnome, the ruffly hat gnome. Okay, so this is the other gnome, and they have the same type of body. So you build the body of the gnome, and the hats are different. So I was able to learn quite a bit from just doing one of the gnomes. And this is the second gnome, which I think is also very cute. And look. So an interesting thing to me, and I don't think I've ever done this before, you built the hat and you crocheted up the hat, and then right at the top, you got down to like 6 or so stitches, you changed the color, and then you started right directly onto the pom-pom. And you know what? I love it. I thought that it was a great way to kind of go right into the pom-pom without having it floppy or loose, because you definitely don't want that. And it's very sturdy how it sticks. And I haven't done any stuffing on the hats. It seems like it's crocheted at such a tight gauge that the hats just naturally have no issues with standing straight up. So I love them. I think they're great. Let me see, I can get both of them in the frame here. That's great. You know, I definitely love amigurumis as they're done, but while making them, it can be kind of difficult because they are an exercise in patience for me, and I just haven't had that much practice with them. So it's kind of like, you know, the more you do something, the better you get at it. Well, I just have to kind of sit down and practice them. So I'm sure my daughter would be like super thrilled to find it that. Sorry guys, I had a cat who was unhappy that the bedroom door was shut, so we had to remedy that. But anyways, this is the next thing that I've been spending most of my knitting time on. Well, I guess I should say most of my crafting time on this week. So this is the simple sweater, and this pattern is a circular yoke from Tin Can Knits, and I have done this in a fingering weight yarn, and this is a size extra small. So the yarn that I am using for this is Mouse Witch yarns, and it is in the color Unicorn Vibes. Okay, so this is a Christmas sweater for my daughter, and I am knitting an extra small in this, which is the same size that I made my son. Now, my son is turning 14 and my daughter is turning 10. So I know that sounds odd, but hear me out. I knew that I wasn't going to get a size bigger than an extra small out of the yarn that I had. And I was right, because I used up every little tiny scrap of yarn to make my son's flax. I had wanted to size up his sweater so that it fit him. Right now, the width fits him tremendously. The length is a little long, so that's good. But if I had had it my way, I would have probably made him an adult small, just so that it was kind of baggy and he would be able to wear it for a couple of more years. So that is why my daughter is getting an adult extra small, because this is going to be baggy on her, but I want her to be able to wear this sweater for a while. So that is the method to my madness. Now, like I said, this is a circular yoke sweater, and I don't know if it's coming up on the screen, but you can kind of see the increases. You cast on and you split the stitches into 12 separate sections, and then you increase in 12 different spots. And I really liked this form of kind of building up the yoke. I thought that it was pretty simple and easy to understand, which is pretty common for a Tin Can Knits pattern. So if you're looking for a basic circular yoke, simple sweater is definitely one to check out. But this gradient goes from pink up here to yellow and finally ends with blue at the bottom, like a pastel blue. So I don't know how far down I'm going to go. There's a chance I might be kind of cutting it off early, holding the yarn, kind of putting the yarn up, and then maybe next year kind of taking off the bind off and then building the length back up. But I'll have to see. I'm really going to see where this falls on her after I'm done with the, I believe, 12 inches that they want me to knit from the underarm down. And then I'll just judge from there. I don't want to make her a sweater that's gonna go down to her knees. That would be silly. But I want to be mindful of the fact that she's 9 and she grows very fast because she's a kid. So I kind of want to keep my options open for how I'm going to be able to make this sweater last as long as possible. So I just love the colors. I think that the fading is so pretty. So I have been working very hard with this. So I've been working very hard on that because you guys won't see this until Tuesday. But today is Saturday here right now, and tomorrow is the start of Advent knitting. So if you have been following my channel, you know that I am planning on making the Stripe Buster. And that pattern is by Amy Gunderson. And it is going to be a lot of fun, but it's knit flat and seamed together. So I'm trying to be realistic about how much knitting time I actually have. Because, I mean, knitting flat, for me at least, takes longer than knitting round and round circular. So it is what it is. I'm very excited. I have an Advent from Blackbird Sycamore Yarn, and I am going to use that to make the Stripe Buster. So be on the lookout for that next week. I will be... no matter if you have the Advent, you won't have to worry because I will be lagged because I film on Saturdays and they don't go, or Saturdays or Sundays, and they don't go up till Tuesday because I need time to edit and everything. So you won't be spoiled here. But I know that everybody has been really excited and getting into things like Vlogmas for December. So I'm excited for all of that. And I'm just happy that it's this time of year, you know, minus the snow because we had snow this morning. So boo. I do have some patterns to show you, and I actually have quite a bit of patterns to show you. And some of them are free patterns, and some of them were patterns that I had just stumbled across. And I'm like, I don't understand why this only has like 12 projects. Like, what's going on here? So I wanted to share them with you because sometimes I'll run across like a sweater pattern, right? And see that only 24 people have made it on Ravelry. And I'm like, I don't understand why that is. So I just kind of wanted to bring attention to some of those. But this is the first one. And this is called Spirit of the Stars. This is by Sarah Athey. Okay, this is Crochet Mosaic. And I don't know what has been going on lately, but it seems like all of the patterns that I've been seeing have been mosaic crochet. So keep that in mind because I actually have a couple to show you today. This is basically a blanket pattern, but look at those squares. And those squares are amazing. Part of me wants to make a crochet blanket with an Advent so bad. And I really do, but I won't stick to it. And I know I won't because at my heart of hearts, I'm more of a garment knitter. But that doesn't mean I can't dream. And when you look at this. So this is a free blanket pattern, right? And you could take those squares and do whatever you wanted with them. You could make a coaster or a bag or anything square. What are some square things, guys? Come on, help me out here. But you could make a baby doll blanket or a baby blanket, or you could make a king size blanket. just about anything. So I really do like when I run across the blankets that are composed of squares, because there are so many different uses for those squares. It says, this is my last and free pattern of 2024 to say thank you for everyone that supported me. This is knit, well, it's sized using DK weight yarn, but as a square, you could knit it in whatever weight yarn you wanted. It says, Spirit of the Stars has 2 patterns out, row by row and center out. You can choose which one you want to do or both. Overlay Mosaic crochet technique using US terminology and English only. So it says with this PDF pattern you get the block center out and then row by row, and it says you also get a joining the center out squares PDF, which sounds awesome because, you know, I always have trouble trying to figure out how to join my blocks for different things. I mean, you can always use like mattress stitch or whip stitch, or you can single crochet them together, but like, what's the best method? And it really depends on what you're doing. So I'm always excited whenever a designer kind of includes instructions on how they think that they should be joined together. So at least I have that advice and can take that with me whether or not I want to follow it. So it also says you get a beginners to overlay mosaic crochet envelope border for the row by row pattern. So I thought that that was awesome. And I think it would make a really pretty purse, especially with all the colors. I've been loving colors lately more than normal. So it is what it is. I wanted to show this one because I actually bought this pattern. So I bought this pattern this week because of the indie gift along, where the certain designers are offering coupon codes for gift alongs, and this designer had a coupon code for some of her patterns, and I have done a shirt by this designer, and I was excited to try more of her patterns. So this is called the Cinnamon Twist Cardigan by Ewelina Murach. And let me show you this because this is gorgeous. So I'm showing you better pictures on screen, but this has all over cables, and I just thought that looking at it, especially the back, was just so wonderful. It says Cinnamon Twist is a relaxed, seamless, and top-down cardigan made from an interesting combination of cables and rib. The pattern includes instructions and extra charts for knitters who like to shorten or lengthen the body. All the charts have been translated into written instructions. So this is also knit with DK weight yarn. And I think that it's got a very unique design for a cabled cardigan, which is what I think kind of made it stick out to me. Now, this shirt, yeah, I guess you could call it, the shirt that I made from her is called Summer in a Box. And if you watched me, I believe earlier this year, I was working on it. And I actually brought it back out because I wanted to show it to you, because the other pattern that I also got from this designer was the Summer in a Box cardigan, which is very different from this. So let me show you. And that is the back, and this is the front. Now, I love this, and it's so comfy and cozy. I made this with Barocco Renew, I believe. And the cardigan has this design all the way up the arm, this way, and down the other arm. And I think that that's so pretty. And plus, it's a cardigan, so this is more of like a summer top. So I just wanted to bring that out to show you guys. I was very happy with the designer's instructions for this. I thought that it was very clear and I was able to understand it, and I don't remember having any significant issues with the pattern, other than the fact that I kind of daydream while I knit. So I needed to use stitch markers. But that has nothing to do with the pattern. That's a me problem. So, okay. I wanted to bring that out. So there is so I went and looked at this pattern designer's page because one of the commenters told me about her, and her name is Erica Sufka, and basically her pattern store is called Three Little Owls Designs, and I was looking at all of her patterns and I'm like, oh, I love that, and oh, I love that. And, you know, eventually I have like 800 patterns that I love, and I kind of have to boil it down to like one pattern or like two patterns, because realistically, how many patterns can I knit in a year? It's not as many as I want to knit. I'm working on it. So I saw this hat and I really loved it. And I really loved it because of the contrast of the colors of the sample knit, which is exactly, this is exactly the type of contrast that I'm going to use when I make this hat, which will hopefully be very soon because I love it. So this is called Winter's Morning Hat. And I thought it was so pretty. I am thinking of making this in white and something else. Something like a red or a black or like a dark purple. Just something that really contrasts with itself. And, oh, I love it. It's going to be a lot of fun colorwork knitting this. It is knit in DK weight yarn. And the gauge is 22.5 stitches and 24 rows equal 4 inches in stockinette. Now, the sizes are small, medium, and large. It's adult, bottom up. It has a chart, and it says it's stranded. So, let's see. You need around, what am I gonna say? Between 75 and 110 yards of one color and between 75 and 110 yards of another color. So I think that this would just be a very fun hat. I love hats because they're quick and easy. It's very, what word am I looking for? It's very satisfying to knit, just sit down and knit a hat. You can practice all sorts of techniques on them. You can practice stranded color work, you can practice cables, you can practice intarsia, mosaic knitting, mosaic crochet, which I will show you in a second. But I just love this. I also grabbed another hat from her, which I cannot remember the name of, but it was another colorwork hat, and I was very impressed with all of her colorwork hats. But if you have like a little kid in your life, she has a lot of really nice knitted cardigan patterns or knitted sweater patterns. So basically child knit garments, and I kept seeing the knitted garments and I'm like, oh, I hope she has it in adult sizes. And some of them she did, but some of them she didn't. So I'm thinking that my daughter is going to be very lucky soon because I will probably be making some garments for her from this designer. So very pretty. Okay, do you guys remember how I said that Mosaic Crochet, everybody has been releasing Mosaic Crochet patterns and all sorts of things, right? So how did I run across this? So Ravelry has patterns that would be interesting to you. I mention it every time and I can never remember what it's called. So if you guys remember that spot on your Ravelry like your pattern highlights. What it's called, leave it down below because I cannot remember. But it's basically a spot on Ravelry where they kind of showcase all of the patterns that they think that you'll like. And generally, at least for me, they're right. So this was released by Natalia Kononova. And if you guys remember, she was the designer that released that very graphic cat shirt, crochet cat shirt. So she came out with a hat called the Berries Twist Mosaic hat. Now, this is also knit in DK weight yarn. And look at how cool that looks. I was very taken aback by it because I'm not used to seeing that look in crochet or knitting for that matter. And you know what? I really like it. And I loved how those mittens complemented it very well also. So like I said, this was done in overlay mosaic crochet. And the yardage you need is between 246 to 279 yards. And it says it's one size fits all. So it fits between 20 and 7/8 and 22.5 inches. Keep in mind, that's not a set rule for people who have heads, because my husband has a bigger head than that. So keep in mind, you might have to adjust your crochet hook or kind of work at a looser gauge if you don't fall into those parameters. So what I'm saying, I guess, is make sure to swatch or just be aware that, you know, it doesn't always work that in that neat of a package. Sometimes people fall on both of the outer ends of the spectrum. So it says it is intermediate crochet and it's written in American terms, videos for stitches, techniques, and first few rows, a full diagram and pattern support via Facebook group. It is one piece bottom up, it's charted, and it has a written pattern. So, between November 21st and November 27th, which doesn't matter anymore because we're way past that, so just ignore me, there was a free, well, it wasn't free, it was a discount code. But she does say that if you want, you can join her newsletter and get notifications of patterns and discounts for whenever they release. At least I think that's, yeah, a discount instantly and on all new patterns. So I thought that that was pretty cool. And I signed up for her newsletter because she made that cat shirt and I loved it. And she made these and I like these too. So I'm sold and I would love to be notified whenever she releases a new pattern. So, okay. So this is a free pattern and I got it from Herrschners newsletter. And have you guys heard of the yarn shop, Herrschners? It is basically kind of in the same vein as like a Mary Maxim. They have their own yarn lines and they sell them and they do a bunch of different crafts. So they do like embroidery kits and, what are some other crafts, guys? Help me out here. Latch hooking and the plastic canvas crafts. They just do a whole bunch of stuff. But they do sell their own yarn and a lot of people love their yarn and they have different deals like mystery packs and shade packs of different colors. They have blanket kits. I know they have blanket kits because when I first started crocheting, I bought a couple of their blanket kits. They have like renewable monthly kit subscriptions and just things like that. They're a big box store. I mean, yeah, I want to say that. More of like a commercial yarn, but not a big box store in the way that Walmart is. I'm not sure what I'm saying here. They're a smaller company and they sell crafts. So I wouldn't put them in the same vein as Joann's. I would put them in the same vein as Mary Maxim. So Anyways, with all of that said, they sent me this link to a free pattern, and it is called the Cedar Shade Beanie. So I thought that this was pretty cool in that it is a knit beanie with like these little zigzags, chevrons, wavy lines, something like that. I think that this beanie in itself has so much potential, right? Because you know me and you know I love color. So the amount of things you could do with all of these different zigzaggy lines is just countless. You could make it to where they were all one color. You could make it to where they were a gradient going down, or you could make it to where they were every color of the rainbow or completely different colors. It's just it's one of those things where the opportunities are endless. And this seems like a great pattern that will give you a skeleton structure to take your creativity and just let it go wild, which is why I thought that it was worth mentioning. Like I said, it's a free pattern, and if you didn't like the ribbing length, you could change the ribbing. Now, if this were up to me, I would totally take this and make the background of the hat in black and then do like neon rainbow stripes, because I think that that would be so much fun. And my daughter thinks that would be so much fun too. And do you know those like the Karen cakes? You could take black and then take like a Karen cake and make those stripes. Or Premier has a Sweet Roll Vivid, which is basically neon Karen cakes, I believe. I believe it's Vivid. And I would totally make several hats using that. And I'm pretty sure they're DK as well. So I wanted to mention it. I like mentioning free patterns, you know. A lot of times we get caught up in there's so much we want to do, and having a free pattern or two around to kind of keep in your back pocket will let you kind of open up creative wise and just let you play around with different things. There's no risk associated with a free pattern. So, okay, I promised that I would show you what some previous pattern prize winners picked for their patterns. And I meant to show this to you last week, but I completely forgot about it. I'm very sorry. But this is the Bee's Knees by Thea Colman. So let me see if I can zoom in on this beautiful pattern. I love it. And that one up there. Okay, this is knit in worsted weight yarn, and the gauge is 20 stitches and 28 rows, is 4 inches in gauge given in textured motif, but should be the same in stockinette. So the cable gauge is in pattern. It says, now this is pretty cool, thanks to you, we donated $4,800 to Black Lives Matters and voting rights efforts. So that was neat. I love donating to all different causes. Okay, so it says that the yardage available is between 1,150 to 1,850 yards, which is really cool. The sizes are between 34.5 to 62.5 inches. So that is a great size range. Okay. So it's a combination of bold cables and delicate texture. Worked in a gorgeous deep yellow, was just what my soul needed while staying home for weeks on end. Oh, I wonder if she made this during COVID. Oh yeah, it says it was published in September of 2020. Yeah, we all needed lots of hugs and love during COVID because it was a very, very, very stressful time. for a lot of people. So the sweater features simple design elements that highlight the cable and texture, such as V-neck shaping that allows the cables to subtly follow the lines of the opening, a delicate shawl collar, a ribbed hem that flows right into the cable pattern, and a beautiful join at back neck. Oh, let me show you the join on the neck. Look at the neck. Oh, I love that. And the texture on the back. And like she said, the sample for this is done in like a really pretty yellowy gold. So yeah, I was really excited when I saw that somebody picked this because I don't know, I always get excited for you guys when I see what patterns that you pick. There are so many great patterns out there, and it makes my heart happy that I'm able to gift one an episode. So on to the next one. Like I said, I kind of went overboard this week. So I'm trying to give you just like kind of a brief overview of each of the patterns. So okay, this was one of the ones that I ran across and couldn't understand why there were so few patterns, or so few projects. So this only has 25 projects. This is called Eventide by Yeoh. And it says the sizes available are between 31 and 60 inches. So let's take a look at this. This is kind of an oversized shirt. Well, no, it's not that oversized. It has a little bit of positive ease, but it has running, I'm trying to find the best picture here. It has running zigzags across the front of it, and those zigzags are done in like a lace weight yarn, like a mohair. And let me see. It says it's done in Silk Mist by Sweet Georgia Yarn. So it says it's a cobweb, 60% mohair and 40% silk. So when I saw this pattern, so whenever I see any pattern, what I do is I start thinking, hey, what would I do? What would Mandy do for this pattern? Like, how would she modify it? Because generally the answers are, I'm going to include pink somehow. So that's pretty much what I thought. I thought that it would be so much fun to take this pattern and make the shirt in black, the background color in black, and then use neon pink for the stripes and maybe keep one stripe or two stripes. No, I would make all the stripes pink except one, which would be neon green. So neon pink for all of them except one neon green, and maybe I'd throw in one neon yellow. I don't know. But these are the things that go through my head. So it says that it has positive ease. Alternating bands of sheer and opaque chevrons create contrast and texture in this boxy pullover. Knit in fine merino and silk, this pullover has a sophisticated air, while the easy silhouette makes it easy and comfortable in a more casual setting. The pullover is worked from bottom up in pieces. Set-in sleeves and seams provide structure for a refined fit. Bias bind-offs included in instructions is used to shape the front neckline, and short row shape the shoulders. The pattern includes written directions, chart, and written charted instructions, a schematic with measurements and tutorials for Japanese short rows, bias bind-offs, and picking up stitches. So I've never done Japanese short rows before. That would be fun to learn as a technique, right? Because it's something I've never done before. So keep that in mind if you guys check out this pattern, that if you haven't done Japanese short rows, it's okay because it includes a video for it, or tutorial for it. So how cool. I thought that was it's a pretty shirt. I would make it probably a size or two up for me, just because I like more positive ease. I think that it's boxy, and I think that if you look at this, you can kind of see more positive ease there, but I like more than that. So that's what I would do. Okay, what's coming next? Okay, so this is the KnitVent 2024 release for last week. Last week? Yes, last week, because you're watching this on Tuesday. So the KnitVent 2024 is basically a collection of patterns that come out around this time of year by Helen Stewart. And she's done it for the last couple of years, I believe. I'm not sure how long she's been doing them. If somebody knows, please leave a comment down below. I know that she's done a bunch of really pretty patterns previously in the past involving Advents, and this year is no different. So this is the pattern that came out, and this is called the Elfish Shawl, and this is a one skein shawl, and I thought that that was really cool. It's an asymmetrical triangle, and it says that after blocking, it's 54 inches across the top edge and 40 inches across the cast off edge. So it is done in fingering weight yarn, and most importantly, it's one skein. So if you have one skein of fingering weight yarn that you want to do something with, you could make this. And this would make a very pretty gift, and I really like the way that that looks. We've got some garter and eyelet, I believe. So it says, the Elfish Shawl invokes a playful spirit of self-care amid the joy of giving. This asymmetrical triangle features bands of undemanding garter stitch broken up by pretty eyelet rows to keep your needles dancing merrily along. And then there's tassels too. But obviously, if you're not a fan of tassels, you don't have to add them, right? There's no knitting police. You can do whatever you want with patterns. That's the joy of making your own things, right? You can do whatever you want. You could take this and knit this in 14 different colors if you wanted. I mean, it would be a lot of ends to weave in. But you could do it. There's nobody stopping you. So it's just a matter of if you want to do it or not. But if you want to take a shawl and make it into a bunch of colors, I recommend this one instead, because this one is actually made to do that. Kind of. You'll see what I mean. This is called the angled striped shawl. So this is a Yarnspirations pattern, and this is made from a Caron cake, and I thought it was pretty cute. Now, you obviously don't have to make it from a Caron cake. You could use you could use middies for this. The coolest part about this pattern, and the reason I'm showing you, is because it's free. It says that the yarn weight is Aran. It says the suggested yarn is Caron Simply Soft Solids. Why did I think it was a Caron cake? Well, you could use a Caron cake with it. It says, update your look with bold colors and a modern variation on timeless stripes. Stitched in our supple Caron Simply Soft yarn, you'll use 3 complementary shades to bring to life this layer of warmth. Okay, so that actually makes it a lot easier to use different colors. See, for some reason when I was looking at it on the website last night, not last night, during the day, I had thought that were talking about Caron cakes, and I'm like, well, I don't understand how you use a Caron cake to make that because of the asymmetrical lines and stripes, but that's cool. And I mean, they obviously know they're the designers, and the problem is me. I just can't read. So it says you need around 945 yards, And you're going to use a needle size of 5.5 millimeters, which is a US 9. Now this is so cool to me because do you know how we're in Advent knitting season? You could make that with mini skeins, definitely, and join in on all of the mini skein fun for this month. So, and plus, like I said, it's a free pattern, so there's no risk involved, right? If you don't like it, just pull it out and try something new. Okay guys, so I ran across this sweater and I'm not sure what caused me to stumble across it, but whenever I was doing a search, it popped up and I looked at it and I'm like, oh, that's really pretty. So at first when I looked at it, I'm like, are those embroidered? You'll see what I mean in a second. And I clicked into it and no, they're not embroidered, they're beads. So this is done in air and weight yarn. First of all, this is the Cruz sweater by Pope Vegara. And look, those are beads. Isn't that pretty? I love the idea of this sweater. So it says it's done in air and weight yarn. The gauge is 17 stitches and 22 rows equal 4 inches, measured over stockinette stitch after blocking. This dropped shoulder sweater is knit from the bottom up without seams in the round, but when separating the back from the body, it is knit flat. A beading pattern is worked throughout the process, and the beads are inserted with a crochet hook. The neck has short rows, and the sleeves are knitted in the round. So there's quite a bit of positive ease on this, which might be one of the reasons why I like it. See? Yeah, that's pretty much about where I like my sweaters, I think. So it says that it's got 9 sizes and the positive ease is about 17.25 inches. The picture shows a size 1 crop version on a 32-inch bust. So where's the size measurements? Okay, it says the size range is from 37.5 to 67.75 inches. So that's quite a big size range, and you can pick this pattern. I mean, you could take whatever size ease you want and go from there. You don't have to have an oversized fit. Obviously, you can make it as snug as you want or as large as you want. So, air and weight yarn. I wonder what yarn I would use for this. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. I'm not used to using air and weight. Uh-oh. But I do love the beading detail, especially like if you did the sweater all in black and then made like the beads like silver glittery or pink glittery. That's totally me. This one is called the Prism Pullover. This is by This.Bird.Knits. So this is done with Spin Cycle, and I haven't seen much of this pattern before. Now, I am not a big cropped sweater fan, but I do love the size, the length of her sleeves right there. I would just make the sweater longer than that, depending on how I was going to wear it. Would depend on how long it would actually end up. So cute. Okay, this only has 26 projects, which I thought was a shame. So the sizes available are between 30 to 66.7 inches. It's actually 30.7 inches. Sorry, it's very awkward to have 0.7 of an inch, but that's what the sizes are. So it says it's bottom up in the round and mosaic. Ooh, so it's mosaic knitting, which makes it even easier to kind of work up because you only have to deal with one color at a time. So it says recommended ease is 2 to 6 inches. And it is made in light fingering, and it uses spin cycle dyed in the wool, and it uses a yarn from Farmer's Daughter fibers, which I've never used before, but it says that it's Soka P, maybe? I think I'm reading that right. Sorry, the font is so small, but it says it's 100% Rambouillet and 240 yards for 50 grams. So it sounds fun. I don't know if I've ever knit with Rambouillet before. Have you guys? Let me know down in the comments, like, if you've knit with anything, what you think the yarn would be good for. Sometimes different yarns have different things that they'd be suited for. Like cotton, for instance. With cotton, you have to be careful. It's going to stretch and it doesn't really have the natural memory that, say, wool would. Or what else? I really liked my yarn that I got from Miss Babs. It was Blueface Leicester, and it was super springy and crisp, and I love the definition that I got off of it. Things like that. But anyway, I should be showing you guys the pattern. I'm going off on a tangent here. I thought that was so cute. You know what? I felt so terrible when I saw this one because I have been a huge fan of this designer. I've done a test knit for this designer, and I had no clue this pattern existed. So I'm looking through Ravelry, doing a search, and then all of a sudden this pattern comes up, and I'm like, wait, what? When did that come out? Apparently a long time ago. It came out in October of 2023. So this is called Junco, and it's by Andrea Gaughan, and this is just amazing. So let me see where. There we go. That's the picture I want to show you. Look at that. That is incredible. I love that. I feel like me and my love of all things graphic would just be right at home making this sweater. Because I want to make it in like pinks or neons and all sorts of contrasty colors. So let me tell you a bit about it. It is made from DK weight yarn, and the gauge is 24 stitches and 38 rows, and it's in mosaic knitting, so that's even better. It says, Junco features a striking all-over colorwork motif. All-over colorwork, right? I've been so, like, adoring all-over colorwork lately. Motif created by Mosaic Knitting. If you've never tried mosaic colorwork before but love learning new techniques, this pattern is for you. This pullover is worked bottom up in order to allow you to become comfortable working in pattern during the body before needing to work increases in the sleeves, then decreases at the yoke. Okay, so I did the Willow Pullover by Andrea Gaughan, and that was done in the same way. So you start with the ribbing at the bottom, and then you work an all over textured stitch. I believe it was like a basket weave. I know it was a basket weave. I'm trying to remember what it was called, but I'm just gonna go with basket weave because that's pretty much what I would consider it. So you started with the basket weave and you got all set, learned the pattern, and by the time you were up and had to worry about like increasing and decreasing, you had the pattern in your head. You had it already. So that's a pretty good way to kind of ease somebody into like all over color work or an all over texture. It says the pattern is graded to 9 sizes and designed to fit a body with the bust measurement shown in the schematic. Uh-oh, I don't have I didn't print the size ranges, but there's 9 sizes. So this designer has had a lot of their patterns have been size inclusive. I'm saying a lot of their patterns because I haven't looked at each one and I don't want to misspeak, but I would be very, very surprised if not all of their patterns were size inclusive. Does that make sense? So I would definitely check that out. That is so cool. Oh, I kind of want to make this. No, I have Christmas knitting, Advent knitting. I have dreams and daydreams about, I need to start my Advent knitting tomorrow. I have the Christmas sweater for my daughter, and then I have my Christmas sweater, which at this rate might be done by like March. It is what it is. If you're not going to knit what you feel like knitting, when you feel like knitting it, what's the point in knitting? That's what I'm gonna tell myself whenever I feel like casting something on. Let me see, I think I have one more pattern. Yes, okay. So, this was interesting to me. This is called the Fluke Sweater by Astrid Miller. Let me show you the pictures before I talk about it. I want to mention that this is knit in lace. And I thought it was important to showcase because you don't see a lot of lace knit patterns. I mean, because it's lace, right? Lace is going to take longer, especially when it's not like a tank top because lace is smaller gauge. So, but still, there's a definite use for lace weight yarns, especially when you want something super silky and lightweight. And look, can you imagine how much fun that would be to wear, knowing that it's made from lace weight yarn? I bet that's so comfy. Okay, stop dreaming, Mandy. It says the yardage that you need is between 1312 and 1859 yards. It comes in English and German languages, and it's charted. It's one piece and seamless. It says the Fluke sweater is knitted seamlessly in rounds from top to bottom. Due to the construction, you can adjust the body and sleeve width separately to your individual size. That is why there are no fixed sizes, which has the additional advantage that you are much freer in your choice of yarn and can also knit with a different stitch gauge. I give you 4 stitch counts that you can cast on for the neckline. They only refer to the width of the neckline. The final size depends on how many increases you work later. The neckline is shaped by short rows and a lace pattern runs down the shoulders and sleeves. I love patterns that do that, where the lace pattern runs down the shoulders and sleeves like that. I think it's so pretty. But like, I want to make this in lace now that I've talked it up so much. It says it was knit with lace yarn. It's 100% merino. Huh. I wonder. See, the only problem that I have when talking about lace weight yarn is that the only lace weight yarn I've really bought was back when I was a newbie and I didn't realize how much lace weight yarn I actually needed to make a sweater. That's the problem. Sorry guys, the battery died. Okay, it's the world telling me I need to end this soon. So, what was I saying? If I could go back in time, I would totally make it to where I bought twice as much lace weight yarn, so that way I would have an actual sweater's quantity as opposed to a half of a sweater's quantity. So I guess it's like one of those lessons that you learn as you're more experienced in your craft, how much yarn you need for certain things. Because when you're a newbie, you're like, oh, I'm not gonna need however many yards of this type of yarn when I only need this of this type of yarn. It doesn't work like that. My math brain was not very up and up whenever I was a newbie knitter or crocheter. So, but anyways, that was the last pattern that I have for you guys. And I better get going before I talk your ear off. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And if you could, please give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave a comment down. Sorry, I had to think. I'm like thinking and spinning my hand at the same time. Don't forget to leave a comment down below if you'd like to be entered in next week's giveaway. Okay, guys, I hope you have a great week and enjoy the beginning of December. Thanks. Bye.